sitting in as chair of the Finance Committee for Richard. So the Finance Committee will now convene at 7:50. Apologies to anyone watching the meeting that we are delayed today. And the first action is the minutes. The Finance Committee recommends that the minutes of the December 5th, 2016 Board Finance Committee meeting be approved as presented.
A second?
Yes?
Yes?
Yes.
I'm not sure the right one. Is it? Okay. All right. The Finance Committee recommends that the 10-year life safety survey provided by Archon and submitted it to the Illinois State Board of Education be presented to the full board for approval. Do you have a second presentation or questions?
Let me just start, and then I'll turn it to Mary. I think one of the bottom lines here as we look at both the life safety issues and the capital needs of the district is that if we combine what's in the life safety survey, which is about $38 million of improvements, coupled with our master plan work summary, which is about $66 million of improvements. The needs for the district right now, as categorized as such, exceed $100 million. It's about $105 million. And so it's written up in Mary's write-up, and I know we were going to talk about that. I just want to underscore that. Mm-hmm. It relates then to some of our earlier conversations around the proposed referendum and the ability to put some small amount of capital dollars to the side so we can actually make some improvements. But we're looking at $105 million of improvements. Mary, I turn to you on that.
Sure. No, very, very well stated, Dr. Gorin. I want to just do a brief introduction, then I'm going to talk a little bit more about the project. So we have with us Rick Cozy, who is a senior architect from Archon and Associates, and we have the lead architect who did the walkthroughs, Tony Tremonti, in the audience. Archon has done work for the district here going back many, many years. I don't know, Rick, how far? 1992. They did the life safety survey 2 surveys ago, and the last survey was done by a different company. We're very happy to have Archon back on board. They know our buildings very well. They have done some of our building additions and designed some of our improvements that we've done since I've been here over the past 11 years. So welcome to Rick and his team. As Dr. Gorin said, the architects have identified a little bit over 38 million of projects, which is included in the packet. Now, before you think, oh my heavens, that's quite a high number, I wanted to explain that in the master summary report that I fondly refer to as the $90 million work summary sheet, there was about 21 million of roofing and masonry projects identified in that master plan. And at our request, the architects absorbed those projects into this current life safety survey. They worked with our current roofing architect, Tom Hutchinson of the Hutchinson Design Group. And those projects are now captured in this most recent 10-year life safety survey. So almost half those projects were ones we certainly knew about in the area of roofing and masonry. So I did include, even though it's not required per the state, I did include the revised master report, the master plan report, which, as Dr. Gorin correctly stated, now totals about 66.9 million. That number was previously over 99 million. I just want to point out that report never included the technology totals. Technology was estimated last at 1.9 million for the 2016 year. So these numbers that total between the life safety survey and the master plan of 105 million do not include any capital funds for technology. So that's an additional cost. As Dr. Gorin said, the board did approve a referendum question to be put on the ballot. The plan is that some of those funds would be available for capital work year to year, which would include the double vestibule entries on the 5 remaining buildings that do not currently have them. And the architects actually captured those estimates in the life safety survey. So they did walk through all of our buildings, and they noted various things in this report. I'll let Rick just do a high-level overview, but once the board approves the final version of their report, it will be submitted to the Illinois State Board of Ed in accordance with the requirements. Rick, do you want to give us a brief overview?
Sure, Mary, thank you much. You did a fairly nice job. You really don't need me to do much, but yeah, so the 10-year life safety service, life surveys are state mandated every 10 years. And the object is for a licensed architect to walk the facilities looking for any code violations of the buildings during the time they were built. So most of your buildings, when they were built, were within code, and so we look. It's a very arduous process. We find some things. Many of the things we found are recommended items. There are only a few items that are required to do, but. Big picture, roofs, masonry, we walk the sites to make sure that the sites are draining appropriately so you're not getting water in the building. Doors and windows and anything that would keep the building watertight. And then interior issues such as doors, finishes, paths of egress need to be maintained. Sometimes if doors are stuck or inoperable, then those would need to be replaced to maintain a path of egress. In some cases, if doors are swinging in the incorrect direction, they need to be reversed. So it's those kinds of big picture things. And then our mechanical and plumbing engineers look at mechanical, plumbing, and electrical items. Proper amounts of air changes, proper ventilation, making sure plumbing fixtures are working, making sure plumbing drains, floor drains are draining. And anything electrical, lighting, fire alarm systems, power, circuitry. Sometimes when we find many extension cords in a classroom, that indicates that there's not enough power, so we want to address that issue if we can. So those are the high-level things we look at.
Okay, great. Thanks, Rick. Sorry. Any specific questions?
Just have one question. What's the difference between urgent and required? And I know maybe there's a simple answer, and I'll tell you. I went to Oakton had something that was, it's not working. It's an injector. I don't know what an injector is, but just curious as to what's the difference. And I saw some other items that were like not meeting the federal regulation, but it's required and not urgent. And
Correct. Okay, so an urgent item we would categorize as an A. An urgent item needs to be completed within 1 year, and it is anything that is directly related to the health or safety of a student.
Okay.
So if we see a broken window, if we see things falling from the ceiling, there's a big crack in the floor that the children are tripping over on a daily basis. Those are urgent items. We would code those as A. Priority code A, you're required to get those done within 1 year. B items are required. B items are obviously not life-threatening, but to the point where we should address them within 5 years. And the recommended items are just that, recommended, not required to be complete. So when you file a life safety survey, a 10-year life safety survey, you are obligated to complete any items that are A or B.
Okay. And I was just going to say it's good we don't have any A's, but it looks like we don't.
No, you don't have any A's. Very, very rarely will we find an A item.
Oh, okay.
It has to be a pretty blatant, obvious issue for it to still be there.
And Rick, you had mentioned that you may still be tweaking some of these codes. Do you want to talk more briefly about?
So there are some items that we've categorized currently as B. We are going to recategorize some of those as C. As we survey buildings, it's a very difficult process to keep your head around when this portion of the building was built and when this addition was built. And of course, the district's been around for 100 and some years, so you've got quite a few additions. And so as we walk through the buildings, we have to relook at how we've categorized some of them, because what the code violation would exist today if we were to build the building today, but it wouldn't have existed in 1965, for instance, when that addition was built. And so technically we can recategorize that as a C item. It wouldn't be a B, thus then relieving you of that financial obligation.
How soon can you get a boiler in?
Well, most of the work that is identified here would be a summer, multiple summers worth of projects.
There are like several boilers that are, I'm just curious, you know, you always hear about people's boilers. So how soon what would happen if a boiler went out? Let's start there. Gets cold, right?
If a boiler went out, it would get cold, yeah. If it went out now. You've got systems in place, you've got redundancy, so I don't think in our 25 years here, we haven't experienced a boiler failure where you were out of commission.
And we just upgraded brand new boilers in all of our schools.
Yeah, the warehouse boiler is listed here. However, it's not listed on the life safety, I'm sorry. We don't have students in that building, but the warehouse boiler is on our master plan. But Omar, you may have seen air handler units or unit vents.
I see Washington has domestic gas fire hot water heaters.
Oh, hot water heaters. That's
Domestic water.
So,
That would be for hot water.
but I saw a couple of those.
yes.
That's why I was asking the question. So what happens? So that happens. I guess you're ready to go.
Well, yeah, a water heater can be replaced relatively quickly, within a couple of days. Boilers are summer projects.
Can I ask a question about the total? So it's 38 million both for the A, B, and C category, and we don't have A. But what is the breakout for B category for the required?
In this packet?
Yeah.
I think we did a quick math exercise.
We did a quick one, and I think it was,
10 key skills. You were going to town, Mary.
let me see if I
forget.
made a note of that. Hold on.
But that, again, Tracy, that's going to change before the final packet goes to the...
It'll be lower.
It's going to be smaller.
Correct.
I think the revised number,
I'm sorry?
Significantly?
I think so, because I think it was around 700,000-ish, if I recall correctly, and I don't have my totals here. After talking about the grandfathering in of certain areas, we were down to around 270,000.
Right. It was significantly less.
And that's over a 5-year period.
Yes,
That's over a
Yes.
5-year period, correct.
yes. And how we fund these is one of three ways. Through our operating budget, which we don't have room there, through our life safety levy, and I do levy a small amount for life safety, and these are the sorts of projects that can be funded, and we have been funding small scope of work through the life safety levy, which is all under the tax cap, and also larger projects have been funded through bond sales. So when we're able to do that again down the road, it would be another funding source.
Janice?
I'm going to ask you to just repeat something that you said earlier. So I'm trying to rationalize between the life safety report and then the standardization report. So you said some things have been moved in, like double door entry has been moved into life safety, so then it wouldn't be on
Yes.
the standardization
Yes.
report. So these two are mutually exclusive, right?
Yes.
Right, okay. So are the categorizations the same? Because we still have A, B, and C on the standardization report, but it's called urgent, recommended, desired. Is the definition of those the same as what is in the life safety?
The coding, the district came up with the coding of the urgent, recommended, and C as desired. So it was similar in the life safety code, and I believe Andy Pigosi was on the board when we came up with that. So, but these were assigned by the district on the master summary report.
Okay, so I'm just looking, I'm just trying to get an idea if you looked at B's and B's. So requires would it be fair to say required and recommended are the higher priority?
Well,
Just to get an order of magnitude of.
the Bs are a higher priority, and if you look at the master summary report, the life safety related projects, it's page 43 of the packet. There's the largest B line item there is air handler units. The district added that in. That was not part of the last life safety survey, but we added it in recently based on needs and areas that we knew we needed to watch. And so that line total is a little over 3 million. And that was something the district just added on there, just to keep it in our minds that we need to monitor these air handler units.
So if I look at that page and I take 3.7 in B on page 43, and then I go to 42, and to the bottom it's 1.1, so that's 4.8. And there's no Bs at the top, and then I add that to, let's say the high end, the 700. That's like 5.5 million. Correct? Am I doing the math correct? I'm just trying to think of 5.5 million out of the 105 million that's either considered required or
Urgent.
recommended.
Yes, yes.
We don't have any urgent.
Yes, you're
on the
correct.
standard.
Yes, that does sound about right.
Okay. So those would be considered very near-term, or relatively near-term needs. And obviously, okay. So that answers my one question. The other is really more of a broader question that you lighted upon in the cover memo, Mary, which was, prioritization of these and scheduling will happen as funds become available. And I think to some degree, we need to do some level of prioritization earlier, sooner than later, because we are saying that we're going to prioritize, especially as we're asking for referendum monies. We've articulated the double door entries, but to be able to list, have a priority list of these would be the top X that we would look to, those monies that are coming in for our first order of, capital projects, I think is something that we should be able to tell the community as we continue to educate between now and April. So I was just wondering when that might happen. Clearly we have the full list, or at least now we've got, assuming that 5.5 million is the top of that list, then within that, how would, I'm not asking for specific ordering of, but these would be those top priorities and would be conceivably done with the monies initially that are coming in. And I know folks would like to have time commitments, or we made some time commitments over the, with respect to the double door entries, but if there's anything beyond that. So just wondering when that process can occur.
I can work with Mr. Stevenson on prioritizing what has been identified here. I think some of the 5-year items may not, and we'll have to revisit it again if they remain as Bs or Cs, but we can certainly come up with, our recommended list, having just met with the architect to see life safety wise and district project wise, what are the priorities. So we
can always caveat that,
They may change.
if
Yes,
the
they could
boiler
change.
goes out, we obviously have clear other emergencies arrive, but our current thinking of how those initial monies would be utilized would be among this set of thing over, some projection of time.
Mary, is it possible by the next finance committee meeting, or is that?
that would be a little tight. I'm going to be out of town one of those weeks, but we can aim for that, and we may be able to pull it together because this is very fresh in our minds. So we can aim for that.
Thank you.
Can I just, this may be the little picky stuff, but go back to the boiler question. Don, my assumption is that our head guys and you are watching, and the staff are watching our heavy equipment, and things fail, but we shouldn't be totally surprised.
No, we have a very good preventive maintenance.
Right, that's right.
And as we foresee, those things coming up, for the summer, we work with, the principals and start scheduling that. So yes, we're on top of that. I feel very comfortable with that.
Right. It doesn't mean that something won't fail because things fail in life.
Yes,
but,
yes.
But we're on top of it in terms of paying
Yes.
attention and being preventive.
Yes. And those unforeseen things like, what we spoke of this evening, happen. But yes, we're on top of those.
We had a pipe that busted over at the warehouse, and it's going to be repaired.
Yes.
As we speak.
Yes.
Probably tomorrow.
Yes. Claudia, do you have any questions?
No.
I have one picky little question, and this may be the type of work that will be recategorized, but I saw, it jumped out at me at Lincoln where the multipurpose room that was new with the addition, that you had the pair of exit doors not swing out in the direction of the, could we have done that wrong in the recent addition that we did at Lincoln for 10 grand?
Fortunately, we weren't involved in the addition at Lincoln, so.
Yes.
That's why I asked the question.
Are you asking me to throw someone under the
No, I
bus?
mean,
Yes.
is
there's-
that being recategorized, or are we really going
No,
to pay
that,
10 grand?
that
to
is an issue that you
these
should,
those?
that is an issue you need to address.
Do we have recourse with?
Recourse with
Or
that.
some term of,
Don, do you know, were those doors in place already? Because that room was in existence. The room was an auditorium, so, and
The use of the room has changed. So I think that's what Rick is speaking to. And we'll look at, and we'll review that, you know, prior to that next wave to see exactly how that needs to happen, what can be modified.
the use has changed.
It's also important to keep in mind that these are conservative budget numbers to allow you to plan appropriately, knowing that the solution may take place a number of years from now, and so it's difficult to guess how much it will cost if you were to push this 5 years out. So it's a conservative number.
Okay.
We try to be as close as we can without being outrageously silly, but it's there to allow you to plan appropriately.
Yeah, so that's concerning, but I hope we can figure that one out. Yeah, good. Any other questions? All right, so we'll vote now? Ms. Harrison?
Yes.
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 The motion passes 3-0. Our next meeting, any questions on the FYIs? No? Our next meeting is Monday, February 6th, and I would adjourn the Finance Committee meeting at 8:14.
Ooh.